stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the devoured. Ouch!
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Is it that time again? It is. It's time once again, not for Aaron Live, the dead show, but the new alive show, Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. I'm your host, Aaron Lopresti. So you can still, look at that. You still have that Christmas tree up there. Okay, so what are the odds going in Vegas right now that we'll actually get all of our Christmas stuff down before the end of February? I'm not liking our chances. You know, if we just leave it up all year round, then I don't have to bring them out again in December. They're already out. So I don't know. Busy. I've been very, very busy. Look at, I'm a preppy 80s guy. All right, let's fix that collar. All right. Look at, yeah, I know I'm cold. I can't help it. I'm cold. Thankfully, we have missed snow here. Well, that shouldn't be too big of a surprise. We get snow here about once every 5 or 6 years. So a lot of rain. But it's cold. I mean, not like cold, but like, 40 degrees. That's, come on. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just came in. I pushed the go button. I do have a show planned. I'm never really mentally prepared anymore for this. I just do it. I just step right into it, and here we go. So here we go. I just realized, like not this second, but like within this last week, I recently realized that I had not filed. Now, I'm still one of those guys who files paperwork and stuff. I don't do everything electronically. And so all my tax stuff, receipts and things like that, I put in file folders. I hadn't filed one piece of paperwork for the entire 2025. There was just stacks of receipts and, bills and things like that just sitting there. And I spent the last week filing them all. We're talking now last year, right? Just so I could do my taxes. And then I had to start filing for this year. I'm telling you, man, I don't know what's going on, but I guess I'm just doing too many things. And can you get an intern that you don't have to pay that'll do stuff like that for you? I don't know. Probably not anymore. It used to be back in the old days. You used to be able to get an intern and just abuse the crap out of him and not give him a dime. And they would walk away thinking, wow, I had great work experience. Guess we're too savvy for that anymore. All right. Well, no one can say I was late today because I was early. Now let's see who else is early. Let's see who's in the chat. Pastmaster Dan's there, and he's telling you to visit my website, and I highly recommend that you do that. The infamous Mr. Kirst is here. Stealth X5 joining us. Glitch. Corum. He says, Keown is awesome. Dale is indeed awesome. He's one of the few guys that are like my age or near my, he's a little bit older than me, but not much. And we started about the same time. Adam Hughes is another one. Those are guys that I like just I'm just a fanboy. I just love their stuff. And he's one of them. So we get to look at his covers today, or my favorite, or some of my favorite, because I love all Dale's stuff. So I had to pick a few, not all. And he says, Corum says, can't wait for Barbaric Adventures. You know what? I can't either. Another reader friend of mine said, sent me a message saying that, hey, I got the Wraith of God stuff, because he was one of the last ones on the list. He goes, oh, it's great, blah, 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 because I can't wait for Barbaric Adventures. And I said, neither can I. Now all I have to do is draw it. So, but I am very excited to work on it. And I know that Dan Lawless is already working on his, and David is messing around with his cover even as we speak. So it's going to be pretty cool. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll get into more of that later. Let's see here. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is, do we say, what are we going to do? Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here, because it's a new show and he hasn't missed yet. So we'll go with the Leg Kick is always here. Randy Howell says you should get Dale on again. Dale may be asleep right now. I don't know. I had Dale on for a lengthy interview that's still saved in my files. So if you want to go back and look and see a great Dale interview, go. I also did one with Kelly Jones, and I also did one with Walton Wheezy Simonson. And those are all kind of like cataloged on my YouTube list. You have to go back a little ways to find them, but they're good. And you should check those out if you're interested. Pantheon's here. Matthew Muma. Glitch says, now I know what Adventure Time is, but I've never really paid that much attention to it. I'm looking at it right now, and I see the sword below it, maybe. Nah, there's no problem there. There's no problem there. First of all, because Adventure Time is crap. And then secondly, I didn't copy it. So I'm not going to bring it up, but I just wanted to check it really quick. There we go. Okay. So just the sword below adventure. Yes. Here I almost thought I was being clever, and you can't, you know what? It doesn't matter what you do. Somebody's always thought of it before you did. That's why it's like so hard to come up with a character name or even a magazine name like Barbaric Adventures. There's a Barbaric out there. There's Barbaric Tales. So it's like, it's almost impossible. Someone has thought, you think you're brilliant, but someone's always thought of it before you have. There's Bretsky the Great. Thanks for joining us. Why does that keep coming up? I don't understand. Okay, there we go. The Beam Pad is here. Not the Bean Pad, but the Beam Pad, like Star Trek. Duck Bacon's joining us. There's Corey Landis. Pity Ma, of course, is joining us. She says, this is my favorite stream. And I got to agree with you. So yes, thank you. Appreciate that very much. There's Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. Gollum Wolf is here. Corey Landis says, it's true. Nothing else is on. Well, it's always good to get a good start on the show. Okay. So Corey takes one in the gut. Best Age Comics is here. Let's see. Gemini Dragon says, Aaron, what are you blaming Shelley for this week? I don't recall blaming Shelley for anything ever. So I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Darren Wagner, Darren understands. He says, you have the best office workspace decor, Aaron. It's pretty crazy in here. I saw a picture once of Michael Kaluta's studio, and he was like around this little drafting table. He's in like a small apartment, like in New York, right? And he had this light coming in behind him. So he's kind of dark and spooky looking. And there was just literally books piled up all around him, bookshelves and toys. It was just, he was like, you're just immersed in this. And mine's a little more orderly than that, but I got a lot of junk in here, that's for sure. But it's cool junk, and that's what I always say. It says my goal is to give my kids the best estate sale of all time. So when I kick, which could be sooner than later, they'll be everybody will want to come to this estate sale. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Paul Taylor's here. Our resident biologist is joining us from Canada. Let's see. What else we got here? Paul says, I used to do my taxes by paper, but electronically is so much easier. It used to take 2 hours. Now it takes 15 minutes. So much better. Plus the tax company keeps your last year's info and loads it up. Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't even know how to explain. I'm just so set in my freaking ways and I'm comfortable. It's like anytime I have to learn something new, it's like I reject it. And which is not the most efficient way to live your life. But maybe someday I'll get tired of doing the paperwork. I have an accountant. So all I have to do is give them the numbers and they put it all together. So I don't really do my taxes. I just give them the numbers. And I could be entering those numbers in a spreadsheet throughout the course of the year and then just downloading them at the end of the year. But that would require me to do that throughout the entire year, which I just told you, I didn't do one thing this entire year that related to tax prep. And so now I'm having to do it all now. So whether it's electronic or paper, I don't think it's going to make me any better or more happy this time of year. Dale looks really young. Of course, Paul is insinuating Dale looks really young for a guy that's older than I am. So there. Clint Lowe says, when is Barbarian Tales starting? Never. It's Barbaric Adventures. And we're going to be launching, I think it's February 4th on Wednesday on Graybeards, because everybody on Graybeards is in the magazine. So they're a part of it. So that's where we're launching it. And we will go off into the night. And if, if Ethan at that point would like to pick it up and do something, we will. If not, I'll just keep going on my channel till midnight until I absolutely collapse, which is what I always do anyway. Darren Wagner says, Dale is the greatest living Hulk artist and Pitt ain't too shabby either. I'd go farther than that. I'd say he's the greatest Hulk artist, period. I know he wouldn't say that, but I will say that. And being a pretty good Hulk artist myself, it takes a lot for me to suck it up and say that, but it is true. Dale got me reading the Hulk again because he was so awesome. Gerald Horton says, hi, Aaron. Hello, Gerald. Thanks for joining us. I looked in that because I was like, do I know a Gerald Horton? It was awfully familiar to say, hi, Aaron. And I was kind of like, do I know you, Gerald? I know a family of Hortons, but I don't remember a Gerald being in the family. So, Henry Jeremick is here. This is true. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Yeah, you see the werewolf right there. That's the werewolf drawing he did for Wraith of God, one of the variant covers on Wraith of God 1. And yeah, it's just all pencils. And it's super tight. But I was like, man, I wish, because he digitally inks the stuff. And then I'm like, dude, why didn't you ink it for real so I could have the inked too? Because he's a fabulous inker. It's an incredible inker. But when you do pencils that tight, it's kind of overkill, I guess. Okay, Clint, you're almost there. It's Barbaric Adventures. Okay, not Barbarian Adventures, Barbaric Adventures. And let's see. There's Eric Boyd. Thanks for joining us there. Clint, did the show just begin? If I'm in the chat, the show just began. So yes, you haven't missed anything. And like we like to say on the show, you could have come in an hour late and you probably wouldn't have missed anything. But we try. What's up, Mr. L? Ella Campbell. Hey, Ella, what is up? It's my daughter's best friend. She visits often, but she's not here right now. But she's in the chat, so she's here in spirit. That just kind of warms my heart. I'm gonna cry. Okay, I'll be all right. Hey, D Wams is in the chat. Hey, David. I got to talk to David. I haven't called him in a couple days. Need to talk to him. Actually, I don't need to talk to him. I want to talk to him. It's a pleasure to talk to David Williams. So let's see. People are agreeing with me that Adventure Time is crap because it is. Well, let's see here. Paul Taylor has got this fixation on color. And it's like, if it's not in color, he doesn't want it. Now, Paul is going to back Barbaric Adventures in black and white, but he's going to do it begrudgingly because he wants it in color. And I'm telling you, it's all about the nostalgia, man. I could do it in color, but I'm not going to. We're doing it in like grayscale. It's like color without color. It'll be cool. You got it, Paul. You just got to trust me, man. The covers will be in color though. So, yeah, let's see what else we got here. There's Stealth for a big $2. Thank you. Stealth says hello. Appreciate it. Gemini Dragon says you can always will your books to me. Okay. Well, if my children reject them, I'll keep you in mind. TA says adopt me and I'll carry on your collection. Just zipping through here. There's Michelle Bowers with her sword. Clint Lowe is just, my gosh, he's so confused. I'm wondering if perhaps this might knock some sense into him. Now maybe that'll help him clear his head just a bit and think clearly here. Now this is nice. Darren Wagner, who has Demi Foot, which is on Fund My Comic. Go check that out. Says, Aaron, your Hulk is pretty awesome too, but I think of you as the Herculoids artist. That's a good way to think. I like that. I'll take that. Thank you, sir. Sequential Titans are redoing the old Savage Sword of Conan from Marvel in color, Aaron. Don't cut off the possibilities. But see, that's revamping it. It's not the tradition. It's not I've always wanted to do a highly detailed black and white magazine, and gosh darn it, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Just go with me on this, you guys. Come on. Iodine 74 says, how about Barbaric Adventure Time? You can draw it like a 10-year-old and appeal to the millennials. Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. I like that. Okay. All righty. So here we are. Oh, my gosh. Wait a minute. Aaron can adopt me despite him being a Nebraska fan. Yeah, it's easy to be an Ohio State fan right now. I can tell you that. All right. Enough about all this color stuff. You know, Graham Nolan's Chenoo is in black and white. You guys aren't complaining about that. All right. I'll tell you what, if we get, and I'm not even going to say it, maybe I'll do, like if we get to $100,000 or something, I'll add color. How would that be? But I don't even know if I want to do that because now, you know, it's designed, the whole thing, just go with it. It's black and white. All right. Let's jump right into things. I'm so used to the old format that I have to, I stumble for a few minutes thinking, okay, let's take a look at Frazetta. But we did Frazetta. We did the 100th episode of Frazetta art, and we did the whole big Frazetta thing with Gary and Dan. So it's like I'm not there. We're beyond that. We're doing something different, and that is me taking a drink of water. But beyond that, we're gonna do. There it is. No, that's not it. this. You know, I did have that called this week's expensive comic, but I thought about it. I thought, no, I'm going to change that to expensive comic of the week. I think that's better. That's what we're going to go with from now on. And so let me bring up a little something here that you might find expensive. I know I do. And this is actually kind of fun because, oh, wait a minute. Where is it? There it is. Okay. You want to know why I don't do stuff electronically? Now you know. Darren wants more Kit Carter. My phone's dinging. It's just, everything's out of control, man. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. There we go. Okay, so this is our expensive comic of the week. This is Captain America's Weird Tales. And some of you may be saying, what? Well, I believe this is 1949, unless I'm mistaken. But what happened was Captain America was big, came out in 1941. Jack Kirby, of course. Simon and Kirby. But after the war was over, the superhero fad sort of started dying out. So DC still hung around with their superheroes, but Marvel's fell off really quickly because they were very patriotic, and they spent most of their issues, Submariner, Human Torch, Captain America, fighting Nazis and the Japanese. And so when the World War II was over, you know, people just quit buying the magazines. They had like a short run where Cap was fighting commies and things like that. But what they did was they turned Captain America into a horror comic, and it was called Captain America's Weird Tales. So it was the numbering of the Captain America series, Captain America Comics, but it just changed to Captain America's Weird Tales. Now, those are all fairly rare or scarce comics because people didn't buy them. You'll find way more of the superhero issues of Captain America around than you will of these. And this one in particular, number 74, brings back the Red Skull. And it is the final appearance of the Red Skull until he appeared in the Silver Age in Tales of Suspense. So not only am I showing you the cover, we get to peek inside this book. Check this out in case you are unfamiliar with the story, which I'm not unfamiliar with the comic, but I am unfamiliar with the story inside. The Red Skull strikes again. So he's talking to Satan here. He says, I appeal to you, master judge of the lower depth. I admit wrong in having made... Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's like the end of the book. What the heck's going on here? We don't want to see that. We want to start here. So Red Skull's in hell, and he goes into the Book of the Damned here and writes Captain America's name in the Book of the Damned, right? So when the devil's not around, apparently. Okay. So then we get one of the devil's messengers here. I never thought I'd see his name in here. Of course, seeing Captain America's, right? So we go to Captain America's house. Oh gosh, but I'm tired. I guess I guess he's going to take a nap in his costume. Now I wonder who that could be. He opens the door. That's funny. I was positive I heard someone knock. And there he is. Your time has come, Captain America, for your departure. Your name has appeared in the great volume. I don't know what masquerade you're from, but all soon, hey, I can't move. I should be doing these as dramatic, like radio plays. Your efforts to resist are futile. There is no escape for those whose name have been written in fire. So anyway, he takes him to hell. And oh, look, there's the ferryman. After a fall like that, I should have broken every bone in my body, but I guess holy smoke, this looks like Dante's Inferno. You have hit the nail exactly on the head, Captain America. Who are you? I am Charon, guardian of the river Styx. Come, we must begin your journey at once. So he's taking him to hell. And, you know, so here we go. Oh, and he gets to meet Satan. Satan looks a little goofy here, but, you know, what are you going to do? And so Satan says to him, welcome, Captain America. Welcome. Your being sent here is a surprise, but nonetheless greatly appreciated. We have made special plans for you. I don't pretend to know what this is about, but I don't like the looks of this place, and I don't intend to hang around. Okay, so anyway, so Devil's getting mad here because they find out that it was a mistake that he was brought down to hell. He's not supposed to be there. And so then we find out here that the Red Skull wrote his name in the book. Mistake or not, it makes little difference now. There's no return from the lower regions. It is the law. So Captain America, so it's you, Red Skull, blah, blah, blah. So then, so here they are, you know, I'll have my revenge. They're, you know, yelling at each other. And Satan's like, silence, I reign here, and I alone shall decide what should be done. And then he got the Red Skull apologizing for writing in his book without his permission. The Devil going, you know, I made the rules, I can break the rules. And so he says, okay, much like a Star Trek episode, says, you two guys fight. Whoever wins gets to go free. So the battle begins. Ooh, someone tore a piece out of that page. And so you've got Red Skull versus Cap in hell. And, but, you know, Captain America he tries to grab the skull. I don't know. He tore a piece of his pants off or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. But anyway, he punches the skull and he falls off the abyss. And so he says, I've won the battle, and now I demand my return to the world of mortals. And so Satan reluctantly has to cross Captain America's name off the list. And then he wakes up and he's sitting in a chair. He goes, the blinding light. I must have been all a dream, the whole thing. But then he looks in his hand, and clutched in his hand is the cloth from the Red Skull's costume. So there you go. Pretty fabulous, don't you think? That is kind of a fun little story, though, especially for Golden Age. So this book is super rare, or I shouldn't say rare. I should say scarce, especially in high grade condition. I think there's like 100 of these, like graded, and probably few others floating around. But this is one of the more expensive books in this run, certainly the most of the Captain America's Weird Tales. So a very sought after by collectors. Now look at this. This is my little Go Collect account where I go to chart prices and stuff. So a 9.2, and there's only one of these, that's the highest graded copy known, sold for $204,000 in 2021. Now that was right at COVID, so trying to project if this would be worth more now, it may not be, because the prices were inflated back then a little bit, even though this was a classic Golden Age, highly desirable book. So you could still guess that right now it's worth anywhere from 200 to 300 grand, a 9.2. If it showed up at a heritage auction, who knows? But as you can see, there's a huge gap. The next available graded book is an 8.0. And that was sold in the same year for 43 grand. So I would say this has got to be closer in that 50,000 range now, I would think, as an 8.0. But if we look over here on the side, this Go Collect's kind of cool, actually, but it shows you all the grades. There's 102 graded copies. Universally graded, 88, 1 restored, 1 signature, 1 qualified, 12 restored, excuse me. That gets you to your 102. But there's only 88 graded that have not been restored. There's 192, 180, 275s, 370s, 465s. You can see the lower it goes, the numbers go up. That 50, 4.5 range is your most popular. And then it goes down. So anyway, if you want the last appearance of the Red Skull in the Golden Age, when him and Cap fight in hell for freedom, this, folks, is your book. Now, of course, if you want to get a really crappy copy, You can get a 1.0 for $4,000, maybe. When did that sell? Well, it was recent sale because that's the fair market value on it. So even if I wanted to get a crappy copy, like one that wouldn't fall apart in my hands, look at that, $11,000 for a 3.5. That's like a VG minus. This is what we like to call an expensive book. So there you go. That, folks, is our expensive comic of the week. Paul, for 10. So do Cap's weird tales conflict with the timeline of him going into the ice? No. Because there was a run where Cap came back like in the 50s where John Romita first worked on the book, where he was like, they brought him back as kind of a commie fighter, and then eventually it just kind of and then he just sort of disappeared for 8 or 9 years and came back in Avengers 4. I don't know if there was actually a story with Baron Zemo in the Golden Age where he actually got shot off in the rocket, or if that was just something they added in the Silver Age to kind of wrap up whatever happened to Cap. So Leg Kick is like, for 10, thanks, Leg Kick. He says, so Cap comes to the future to fight in hell now? I'm confused. You confused me. That was $10 worth of confusion, but I appreciate it. There you go. Headless Bourgeoisie is backing me up, saying that was added in the Silver Age. It was indeed. So the Red Skull did not come back until Tales of Suspense 65 and 66. However, those were Golden Age stories, new ones, but they were told World War II stories, because there was a period there in Tales of Suspense, I'm sorry, where the Captain America stories were World War II stories. So that was like, it was a new story, but it was the Golden Age Cap. And then finally, the Silver Age Red Skull appeared. Was it number 80, 79 with when the Cosmic Cube showed up of Tales of Suspense? Something like that. I'd have to go look. I have all those books, but it's been a while. Hello is now Aaron. All the weird stuff going on. What? Okay, did you mean to say hell? Let's try this again. So Cap comes to the future to fight in hell now. I see. I see what he's saying. It still doesn't really make any sense, though. Yes. It's the same character, but so it's really weird when you get into collecting, right? So even though it was the first appearance of the Golden Age Red Skull in the Silver Age, was 65 and 66 of Tales of Suspense. And then they brought him into the modern day with the Cosmic Cube story, which was 1967-ish, probably. I'm almost positive it was Tales of Suspense 79, but those of you who really want to know can double check me on that. So yeah, so Frozen Captain America discovered in Avengers number 4. That was, they then went and retroactively made that part of the story from the Golden Age, even though it really wasn't originally in the Golden Age stories. Whew. Okay. Anyway, so there you go. That's that. And every week we'll take a look at a very expensive comic and why you should care. And I think that anybody that cares about Captain America cares about seeing him fight the Red Skull in hell. So that's why you'd want to at least get a digital copy so you can read that wonderful story. All right. I think it's time now to bear with me here. Okay. we're going to go take a look at Aaron Lopresti's official website. You'll find a link in the description of this video that will take you right to my website where you can buy all sorts of stuff. In fact, if you're one of those people, and I understand, if you're not one of the people that likes to get out in front of a campaign and help us creators make the book, if you like to, you want to make sure that it's done before you invest any money, even though my track record is spotless, you can now go to my website. If you go into the books tab here, look at that. Wraith of God, Fear Hollow, cover A is available. Cover D in very short supply. It's more money because it's, and then you can also get cover C and cover B, which is also in very short supply, is a little bit more expensive. So yes, you can get these books. You can get them cheaper if you back during the campaign, but they are available. What I have left is now available since everybody has had their books shipped out to them. And if you're still waiting for yours, I apologize because they should be there by now since they've all been shipped over a week ago. But anyway, so they have now been added to my store. You also got all these prints. There's Freya of the Ice Kingdom. These are all signed. Some of them are signed and numbered. I love this John Carter of Mars one, but there it sits. But it is signed and numbered. There's a Garbage Man. There's some Kit Carter stuff. Look at all this wonderful, fun stuff you can get. I haven't done very good on the merchandise. I think the only thing I have up is some shot glasses and the beanie. I do have a bunch. I had to order a ton of shirts. The orders on the shirts, the Bisley shirts and the Keown Werewolf shirts, were not particularly high, but I have a minimum order. So I have a bunch of those that will be going up on the site as well. For those who did not get them through the campaign, I still have some. And you can go to the art for sale and look at all this stuff I just keep putting up there. Super Duper Man and Lois. There's Conan. Sea Monster, this girl, this is a tragic tale. Somebody offered to buy this when she was nude, and then I said, no, I'm not going to do it nude. I got to put clothes on her. So I put the swimsuit on her, and, well, I still have it. Polychrome, you guys remember that color piece from when Dan Brereton was on Greybeards. But anyway, look at all this groovy stuff. A lot of this is from Greybeards, but not all of it. These are all like sketches and stuff that is available for sale right now. Pretty reasonably priced, really. Somebody from Brazil asked me about this Uncle Creepy. He said, how much for Wraith of God 2 and 3 or 1 and 2, something like that, and this Uncle Creepy. And I sent him, told him how much, and never heard from him again. So, or actually he wanted to know what shipping was because he was on the website. He already knew how much they were. And I said, well, here's the shipping to Brazil. Never heard from him again. It's a sad story, but it's true. So anyway, you guys, check out my website. And even if you don't want to buy anything, there's plenty of artwork and stuff to look at. It's just a fun place to go. It's like Disneyland on your computer, kind of. Yeah, probably not really. But anyway, you find a link in the description of this video. Take you right there to do your after Christmas, your New Year shopping. So there you go. That was your paid advertisement for the day. Stealth X5 for $2. Thank you. Stealth should get mine Monday. Wonder if the snow slowed it down. You still don't have yours? Did I screw up your order and have to reship it? I think I did. I might have screwed up Stealth's order, and then he goes, hey, you screwed up my order and I had to reship it or something. I can't remember. There's something weird going on there. But anyway, Stealth, it's on its way. That I can tell you. Snow, weather, what are you going to do? Let's see here. There's Phil Diaz, Zaid Comics. We'll have Phil on a couple of weeks pumping his Western. I wonder where he got the idea for that. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Shipping says Monday. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, guys, that's the show. No, I'm kidding. let's do a little update on Barbaric Adventures that some people have been comparing favorably to Adventure Tales. Not me, of course. So I put together, in fact, I'll show you what I put together. I put together the early sign-up page for the campaign, but in Indiegogo, everything is like, whenever somebody goes in with the intention to improving something, they just make it worse. It becomes more convoluted and more complicated. So now I have to wait for approval before I can put up my early sign-up page. But I can show you the early sign-up page if I can find it. Here it is. Okay, so this is what it looks like if you were actually able to go to it and sign up, which you can't. But here it is. See, and look, the one thing that is cool though, they do have like this image now. You can put like multiple images up there, and they just rotate. So that's kind of fun. And I'll tell you, I wanted to color that girl, but then I realized, oh wait, it's a black and white comic, and then I figured I'm not coloring it just to spite Paul Taylor. So yeah, so here you got a little description. Barbaric Adventures Magazine is a throwback, which I said earlier, to the 1970s and black and white magazines like Savage Tales. This first issue includes stories by Aaron Lopresti, that would be me, David Williams and Dan Lawless, as well as contributions by Gary Martin and a few more surprises, which is true. The stories range from dinosaurs and cavemen to futuristic barbarian tale on Mars to a young warrior battling his inner demons. The stories and art by this talented trio are sure to captivate and excite, bringing back those fond memories of when Sword and Sorcery magazines ruled the newsstands. I don't care, color, black and white, you do not want to miss this. This is going to, and it's oversized, like 8.5 by 11, like it's magazine size. And I was thinking about doing it saddle stitched, which is stapled, but I'm starting to think maybe I might go perfect bound on it. So this is going to be a nice 64-page magazine, adventure comic magazine. I'm telling you, Paul, just get like colored glasses or something, but you don't want to miss this. So anyway, there's what the early sign-up page looks like, and hopefully I'll actually be able to use it, get approval here. So here's what the original artwork looks like. So I created this artwork. I did put a little color on there. I created this artwork for the specific use of the early sign-up page for like promotional stuff. Okay. So this is Freya, the ice princess. She's kills Yetis pretty much for a living. And my daughter goes, how come she doesn't have any clothes on? She'd be freezing. And I'm like, comics. So anyway, there's that. And then I was creating artwork for just to use again as an ad piece. And I ended up making this humongous thing like this. And if you looked in the, in the early sign-up page, it's formatted so all you can see is this. And I'm like, I spent all the time doing this other stuff and you can't even see it. But anyway, so it's on this 14 by, what is this? 14 by 17, maybe 14 by 18, something like that. Sheet of paper. All this stuff's for sale and will probably end up for sale on the actual campaign page. But, you can always reach out to me if you want to get ahead of it. So there's that. Randy Howell simply says, she's a hot chick. Clothes would get in the way. And they often do when you're fighting. I always said that about Frazetta. It's like, he's got these naked guys battling, Conan and stuff. I'm like, dude, at least gird up your loins. At least she's got like some armor breastplates and, her privates covered. Geez. Let's see here. Paul Taylor, he's got it. So that's why there's less Bigfoot content. She's killing all the Eddies. It could be. Clint Lowe, color it in yourself. There you go. I'm going to, a little ship with your own little box of crayons, and you can color the book yourself. I like it. It's brilliant. Isn't too old for Daddy's belt. She's spoiled. I never spanked her. We used to put her in the corner quite a bit because she was pretty sassy. But, you know, and since I'm showing artwork, I could run the old flat files promo. I guess I could. I mean, I've got it. Why wouldn't I do that? Because this actually is sort of in the flat files. Yeah. Okay. So my desktop is so full that I can't, my screen is covering up everything. All right, here we go. If you missed Graybeards last week, it was a kind of a crazy episode. We were trying to do some like N.C. Wyeth inspired work, and I came up with this, which, you know, back when we started Graybeards at like 1 o'clock, and before I had to do Landing Party, which is also a Wednesday night show, sometimes Graybeards would go on for like 3 hours plus. And when Kelsey was on, and he would start painting, and then David and I would feel compelled to paint as well. And so then we would at least maybe even start or finish sometimes paintings on the show. Now that it's more or less just a 2 to 2.5 hour show with a lot of 30 minutes of BS before we even get started, doing, you know, paintings and completing, it's pretty difficult. So my goal was to try and capture some N.C. Wyeth vibe in a pencil drawing. I think I did okay, you know? So this is kind of an N.C. Wyeth inspired pirate drawing. That was, of course, from Graybeards last week on toned paper, which is always fun. Of course, everything you see on this show is more than likely for sale. So that's just how I roll. So there's that. And then I did this, now Comicsgate Kings, which I haven't been on. Man, I was on 2 weeks ago, but I couldn't stay because I had to go take care of my mother. So I didn't finish the drawing. So I don't know that I've actually done a drawing on Comicsgate Kings for over a month. It's been a very hectic time for me. Let's put it that way. So I was going to go on this past week, but they were full. They had 10 people on, and I didn't want to kick somebody. And so I kind of sat there. I talked to my good friend David Williams on the phone while I was watching Kings, while I was drawing this. And so they were doing like Star Wars stuff. I did Conan the Barbarian. And so there you go. Posted this on Twitter, but you may not have seen it, you know, so I'll show you here. But it's fun to kind of noodle while you're on the phone. So there you go. Yeah, this is true. But I can't sit there and say I invented the drawstream, because Mike Miller accused me of stealing his idea for a drawstream when I started Graybeards. So, but yeah, I think the popularity of Graybeards kind of made Ethan realize that there was a market for drawstreams after all, because he was very much against them for the longest time. He thought they were boring. Graybeards is not boring. It's a very entertaining show, and you get to see the drawing. So it's not just drawing. It's not boring people sitting around drawing. It's fun people sitting around drawing. You like the Frazetta calves, I'll tell you. Frazetta is a major influence. It's so weird. When I do monsters, you can see Wrightson. When I do barbarians and stuff, you can see Frazetta. So you can, I'm just a hack. What else can I tell you? All righty. One of the things we've been doing right here on this very show, there's Pity Ma. There is a promotional tagline right there. Thank you, Pity Ma. Appreciate that. That'd be cool. Alien Books has the Tarzan license at the moment. At least I believe they do. And of course, Conan is owned by the Conan people through Titan Books. So a crossover is really unlikely. Okay, what we've been doing on this show, among other things, is taking a look at American Film Institute's top 100 films of all time. And this, the revised list, should I say, because they did one back in 97 and they've revised it. And now I'm sort of desperately stalling while I'm looking for the list. I just had it right there. This is what I'm talking about when you're like, your screen, your desktop gets so flooded with crap that you can't find anything. That's unfortunate. I know it's under someplace. Well, I've still got the material. I just don't have the list so that I literally, what happened to that freaking list? Oh, whatever. Great show, huh? Okay. So we've done the first 20, which was 81 through 100. So like 100, see, it's not like 80 through 100. That's actually 21 if you count all the numbers. So we stopped at 81. So we've done the bottom 20. So now we're moving on up. And now we're going to start seeing movies that, are not really questionable whether they should be on this list. It's just kind of where they're on the list. So we'll start off with number 80. And that is, this thing. A Billy Wilder special. If you guys are not like Billy Wilder fans, you should be. Billy Wilder is probably the greatest writer-director of all time. He has made so many great films, it's ridiculous. And here's another one right here. He did. This is co-written by Billy Wilder and directed by Billy. The Apartment. So this is I believe this was 1960. And even for 1960, I feel like this was a little edgy. Because Jack Lemmon's boss, played by Fred MacMurray, is having an affair with Shirley MacLaine and using his apartment to hook up with her. And kind of, then it becomes this thing where other executives want to use his apartment to hook up with other chicks. And it just becomes this, chaotic nightmare. And, but it's funny. It's good. It's well respected. Nominated for Academy Award. I don't think off the top of my head, I don't think it won, but it did get nominated. And I'd have to go back and check, or maybe some of you guys know for sure. But Jack Lemmon, of course, is great. Shirley MacLaine, I can take or leave, but Jack Lemmon's terrific, and was really good in this. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but in 1960, having a movie about this, it's kind of a little bit risque, but it is certainly a classic. And there you have it at Gemini Dragon. But Lemon's character gets a promotion for it, of course. But it's funny how much he has people coming and going from his apartment, screwing up his life, all for promotion or to stay ahead of, to get in good graces with his boss. Of course, he develops a relationship with Shirley MacLaine, so it just gets more complicated. But if you haven't seen it, you should check it out, because it is, according to American Film Institute, the 80th greatest movie of all time. Let's take a look at number 79. I have never seen this movie poster before, but I love it. It must be a more recent, because I don't remember seeing this at the time, but correct me if I'm wrong. The Wild Bunch, born too late for their own times, uncommonly significant for ours. It's like the death of the Western, right? You had all these great actors, William Holden, Ernest Borgnine, Robert Ryan, of course, did a lot of Westerns. Edmund O'Brien's in there, Warren Oates, Ben Johnson. So it's really interesting, because it's these aging cowboys that are bandits, or whatever you want to call them, outlaws, I guess. And like, technology is passing them by, and they have this great final scene showdown in this Mexican village where they've got machine guns and stuff, which is a new thing. And of course, it's Sam Peckinpah, so it's bloody and violent, especially for, what was this, 1969, I think. So you had the 60s raging, and so film really got flipped on its head in the 60s, because that's when, more overtly sexual content, violent, bloody content was being allowed. Censorship had pretty much broken down, and the 60s, let me just say it, the 60s is a pimple on the ass of mankind. All the great stuff that, how should we say, the uptightness of America that I enjoy was wiped out in the 60s. And everything got a little too crazy for my taste, and it's continued to get that way. But what a great freaking movie poster. Look at this. I got to believe this was like a Mondo poster, or one of those companies that redid posters, because I don't remember ever seeing this when it came out, because I would love to own this. This is a great poster. So there you go. That's number 79, the classic Western, if you want to call it that. Look, I have to put up with Beatty's crap on Graybeards, and now he's coming in on Sunday to give me crap. The Sunday show is a time capsule for Lopez to hand down to his kids. That's exactly right. This is all they were. They go, what was Dad up to? And they'll look at my YouTube channel. Not a lot of racy content though on my YouTube channel, so I don't think I have a lot to hide. Shelley said more racy things than I ever did. Okay. So let's go to 78. And I never saw this poster before either, so I think this is a new poster. This, of course, possibly, now I know there's some great ones, but I think this might be the most entertaining silent film ever. In fact, it was made after sound already came into movies. I believe this was 1931. But it was like the last Tramp movie, I think, Little Tramp movie. And it is brilliant, and it is hilarious. And if you have not seen this movie, you need to find it and watch it. And trust me. And I know Paul Taylor doesn't like anything in black and white, and he probably hates it without any dialogue, but terrific, really funny movie. Paul Taylor says that's the one where he's inside the machinery. You are correct. I'm putting John Beatty to sleep. That's I don't know if that's a product of his age or the product of the content, but good night, John. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully. So anyway, that's 78. Modern times, I think the most entertaining silent movie of all time. Now, you've got Nosferatu, you've got Metropolis, you've got Napoleon. There's some there's some good silent horror films and such. But just in terms of fun entertainment value, this might be the best silent movie. And it's the fact that it was made during the sound era is pretty remarkable. It's kind of like me doing a black and white comic right in the middle of the color era. It's just like that. Okay, so what does that put us at? 80, 79, 78. Here we go. Number 77, truly a classic. Definitely deserving to be on this film. Very politically relevant, especially when it was made. Yes, it's All the President's Men, with Hoffman and Redford, directed by Alan Pakula. I keep racking my mind to say, did this get nominated? I know it did, but I don't think it won. But see, we're going to do like an Academy Awards section, so I don't want to get it in front of myself before we start doing the Academy Awards, the history of the Academy Awards. But this is a really good film. Who plays the? Why do I want to say that Sidney Pollack's not in this? Why did I think that he was? Screenplay by William Goldman, who also gave us Princess Bride. William Goldman, terrific screenwriter. Alan J. Pakula had a lot of good films, so I'm going to say good director. Martin Balsam's in this. Jason Robarbs, that's who I was thinking of. Jason Robarbs plays the editor at the paper, publisher, whatever. Hal Holbrook is Deep Throat. Not that Deep Throat, but the one from this movie. This is a really interesting, well-done movie. As history goes along, people are less likely to, they're starting to think that what Nixon did wasn't quite as horrendous as it was made out to be at the time. But maybe it's just because no one knew of anything that had happened quite like that up to this point. But now all we get is corruption. So it's like, that as far as corruption goes, this is nothing. But it is a heck of a film, so I highly recommend it. This might be, I don't know if this is controversial or not. You guys have to tell me, I guess. But number, where are we at? 77? I think so. You either love it or you're just sick of it at this point. It's Forrest Gump. Now, of course, this won Best Picture. Zemeckis won Best Director. Tom Hanks won Best Actor. It was quite the phenomenon when it came out. And it is a really fun movie. I mean, you have to admit, it really is. Tragic in some ways, but hopeful in others. So I guess it was sort of a cultural phenomenon, and people still quote from this movie. So, and Zemeckis has got to feel pretty good. You get Zemeckis is not someone you look at and say, I mean, he's a good director. He's had, several good films, Back to the Future, or that Tarantino called one of his perfect films. So, of course, this, but he's not necessarily someone you'd look at and go, oh yeah, he's a director that would probably make a top 100 film of all time. But apparently, according to the American Film Institute, he did. And I don't know that it's undeserving. It is true, but things, yeah, it was. But it's part of the tragedy of the film, right? My wife read the book, And in the book, he was more of like a giant, big, thuggish guy. So when he played football, he ran over people. Of course, by casting Tom Hanks, they had to make him more fast. So he ran away from people, which made perfect sense. It is a very enjoyable movie, though. I got to admit, I have watched it. When it's on, I'll watch it. So that says something right there. Okay, that was 76. Okay, here's 75. This is a good movie for sure, and certainly culturally significant. My biggest problem with this is Rod Steiger. I've never been much of a Rod Steiger fan. Rod Steiger always thought he was like a big A-lister, like Brando or something, and he's not. I mean, he's a fine actor, but he was good in this. Sidney Poitier, of course, was really good in this. They call me Mr. Tibbs. Norman Jewison, another really good, fine director, directed this. But it's one of those movies you got to wonder, is it on this list because of its cultural significance, or is it on this list because it's really one of the top 100 films of all time? I guess you can't separate the two sometimes. This is a good movie, though. And it's been a while since I've seen it. They also did a television show, if you guys remember, with Carol O'Connor and doggone it, who was that guy? He was a really fine actor, and he ended up like having drug problems. And what was his name? He was in that Officer's Story movie in the 80s. Gosh darn it, what was his name? He's helped me out. That was a pretty good TV show, actually, too. That's an interesting movie poster. I wonder again if this is a remake movie poster and not one of the originals, because I don't remember ever seeing this as an original. Colin Wolf says, an actor with drug problems doesn't narrow it down. Howard Rollins, there it is. Best Age Comics comes in strong. Thank you. Yeah, because Howard Rollins was in actually a couple of really good movies too, and he was in the TV show, and then he was on cocaine or something like that. I think, didn't he die of a drug overdose? I shouldn't say that because I don't know for sure, but he definitely had some serious problems. Now, number 74, I believe. I keep losing count, but this definitely belongs to be here. This, of course, Silence of the Lambs. Man, Jodie Foster was on a roll. She had like 3 great movies. I think she got nominated like 2 or 3 years in a row or something. She won for this, but she won for the one where she gets raped by the what was that called? By the frat boys. And then she did this the next year, I'm pretty sure, and then won again for this, back-to-back years. This I believe is the first horror film to get nominated for any major award since 1931's Frederick March's performance in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where he won Best Actor or co-Best Actor. He shared it with Wallace Beery for The Champ, which is just a joke. But anyway, we'll get into that during the Academy Awards. But The Accused, thank you. There's John Durham coming in strong. Appreciate that. But so you had, oh, doggone it. What's his name? The guy who played Hannibal Lecter. So he won for Best Actor. Jodie Foster won for Best Actress. They Best Picture, Best Director, Jonathan Demme, or Dem, depending on how you pronounce it. Yeah, I mean, they called it a thriller, but this is a horror film. And there was quite a bit of, at the time when these nominations came out, there was quite a bit of talk about this being because they like to, oh, this is the first horror film since, you know, even though maybe you wouldn't consider it a horror film. I mean, this is a pretty scary film. Anthony Hopkins, thank you. God, what a brain fart. Anyway, so Hopkins then gets credit for winning a Academy Award for Best Actor for a horror film, the first one to do it since Frederick March in 1931. Now, there was talk way back, if you remember a little film called The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, that Jeff Goldblum, a lot of people thought he was going to get nominated for Best Actor, and they were talking it up. And I was in film school at the time, so I remember this conversation. They were talking it up, like, well, if he gets nominated, he'll be the first guy, you know, actor in a horror film to get nominated since Frederick March. And of course, he didn't get nominated. He should have, but he didn't. And then so we wait till, you know, the early 90s, and Anthony Hopkins does it. But this film is arguably the best of it movie of its kind, whether you want to call it a thriller or, I mean, this is like a big budget, star powered horror thriller film. And it's really, really good. It's brutal and scary, psychologically scary. When she goes in there and talks to him, it's just, you're just terrified for her, even though he has no access to her. It's just a great ending on this film too. That's right. That was, what was the name of that movie? I remember that. Anthony Hopkins it was a kind of a slasher film. Anything with Anne Margaret, I certainly pay attention to. So I think this is another movie that obviously deserves to be on this list. Some might argue a little low, but all right, this is a freaking classic. I love this movie. It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Oh, again, written by William Goldman. How about that? Who directed this? George Roy Hill did. I heard someone recently complaining about the bicycle scene because they said the bicycle had just been invented. And so for Butch Cassidy to be able to do like bicycle riding tricks seemed a little far-fetched to them. And the Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head song sort of took him out of the movie. And I was like, what? It was dumb criticism. This is a great movie. The scene where, what's his face? The guy who plays Lurch wants to fight Butch for the control of the gang. And they're going to do a knife fight. He goes up and says, well, let's get the rules straight. And he's like, rules? What rules? And he kicks him in the nuts and punches him and knocks him out and says, fight's over. There's a lot of good stuff in this and great ending, right? Kind of this sort of obvious, but still ambiguous ending, if they live or die, which was then copied recently in a Clooney Brad Pitt movie that was on one of the pay-per-view channels, one of the streaming services, where there are two cleaners, you know, they work for the mob and they clean up people's messes. They stole the ending right out of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I was like, Ted Cassidy, there it is. Lurch. Yeah, Ted Cassidy. Yeah, he says, you kidding? The fall will kill you. I know. It's great. Good stuff. Actually, interesting thing. The guy who did the lighting, the director of photography, do they have his name on here? Oh, bummer. They don't. Because I can't think of it off the top of my head. But I went to film school with his daughter. The guy who did and I think he won an Academy Award for this film too. For but yeah, I went to school. I went to film school with his daughter, Conrad. Anyway, So yeah, I was friends with his daughter in film school. We went to a party and he was there and we got to meet him. It was cool. Now, how about this? Now, most people say, I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people say this is like their favorite film of all time. I don't fit into that category, but I do think it's good. And it is The Shawshank Redemption with a great movie poster by Drew Struzan, the late, great Drew Struzan. Back when they were still doing like movie posters that people wanted to look at. So Frank Darabont, who was also a huge Bernie Wrightson collector, and sold his Wrightson collection recently. I wonder if it was, we always speculated, we wondered if he was selling his Wrightson collection and some of his other stuff to help pay his legal bills because he was fighting with what channel was it that had Walking Dead on it? Because he was the original producer on Walking Dead. Was that American Movie Classics? I can't remember. But anyway, so they took him off the show against his will or something like that. I can't remember the details, but about that time he started selling all this. He had like a ton of Frankenstein pieces from Wrightson and stuff, and was wondering if that's why he was selling all of his stuff. AMC, yeah, there you go. There you go. Shawshank Redemption is top 10 of all time. It's a good movie. This is not clear because I watched a setup of a clip, like the ending scene, and in the setup it says, Andy, whatever the character's name is, falsely accused of killing his wife, finally gets free from prison and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, did it ever even address that? Did he actually kill his wife or not? I mean, I don't even think it ever got addressed. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but that's an interesting, because I always had trouble with this film because I like, if this guy murdered his wife, why are we rooting for him to get out? But he was such a likable guy and he took so much abuse while he was in prison. And so it's an interesting dilemma whether if he did kill his wife, then we shouldn't be rooting for him. If he was innocent, then we should be rooting for him, right? Well, yeah, but everybody says they didn't do it, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it. Daryl Wayne says, well, she was asking for it. So, well, there is that. Okay, so that's 80, 79, 78, 77, 76, 75, 74, 73. That was 72. Here is 71, which will be our 10th movie today and our last one for this show. And we'll pick up on number 70 next week. But this week, number 71 is Saving Private Ryan, which is an excellent movie and part of the mature Spielberg canon, if we will. This had some rough stuff in it. I've only watched it once just because I've seen like some scenes here and there multiple times, but I've only sat through it once because that opening scene on Omaha Beach is brutal. It's freaking brutal. And also when what's that guy's name? Well, anyway, when they're out looking for Private Ryan, they're going across that field, and there's that German soldier in the gun turret, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and he shoots the one dude, and he's dying there in their arms, and that was a rough scene. And also the Jewish Jewish kid, young guy, whatever. He's fighting that German guy near the end of the movie in that tower. And the guy's pushing the knife down and he says something to him in German. And the guy is like, he's so scared and panicked. He's like, what did you say? What does that mean? Wait, don't kill me. Wait, tell me. What did you say? And then he stabs him. It was just, there's a lot of like really brutal scenes in that movie. The name of the show should be titled, what's that guy's name? There you go. I got to think on my feet for like 2+ hours, man. Cut me some slack. Here's the thing, though. Okay, look at this. John Durham says it's no Shakespeare in Love. Of course, he's making the joke that Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture. This did not, although Spielberg won Best Director. I always hate it when they do that. You can't. How can you have the best director but not have the best movie? But they've done that a lot. But there is like this. I thought Shakespeare in Love was a great film. Don't get me wrong. I really did, but it certainly didn't have the weight that this did. The thing about Shakespeare in Love, though, and I read this article, which I thought was pretty interesting, where they're basically comparing how cinema reflects, or the Academy reflects, the popular thought or opinion on what's going on either politically or socially at the time. And Shakespeare in Love was right during Clinton and Monica Lewinsky's stuff, right? And Hollywood, being the bastion of liberalism that it is always supporting their liberal heroes, even if their liberal heroes maybe didn't do the right thing. And so what's Shakespeare in Love? Shakespeare in Love is about Shakespeare cheating on his wife and having an affair. At the same time, Clinton was accused of having an inappropriate relationship with Monica Lewinsky. So they used, that was the prime example, but they used other examples of when films won Best Picture when they were more reflective of what was going on in society and maybe really didn't deserve to win. But I will say Shakespeare in Love was a really, really well done film. I really liked it. I used to watch, someone says that, I bet Shelley made Aaron watch. Shelley and I used to watch all the Academy Award nominated films. We made a point of it for years. We would do that. And I remember we watched Barton Fink, which was a Coen Brothers film. She couldn't stand it. So she's hated the Coen Brothers ever since. We watched Barton Fink. But that was like, we were first married. I think it was Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. Malcolm X was that year. Scent of a Woman was that year. I did not go see The Crying Game because the surprise ending, if you will, got leaked. And I was like, that's a surprise I don't need to see. But anyway, so there you go. That, I think this is, it has sort of a, I don't want to say novelty, but it has an aspect to it where they're on a quest, right? So it's a war film, but it's more of a quest film surrounded by World War II. So it's kind of unique in that regard. But it's brutally honest, and it doesn't, the people that you hope don't die, most of them die. And it's, it's like the brutality of war, right? It doesn't play favorites. And I thought Spielberg did a good job with that, taking sort of like I said, a novelty concept of kind of hiding a quest movie inside a World War II movie, but then at the same time just being totally brutal to how the reality of, I'm sure, how World War II was. We romanticize it now, but you know what they say, war is hell, and they say it for a reason. So anyway, there you go. We have now looked at the bottom 30 of the top 100 films so far by AFI. We will continue down this road every week, showing 10 more until we get to number 1, And at that point, we'll then pivot to a history of the Academy Awards. So a lot of movie going in our future on this show for sure. But now let's bounce back and do some comic book stuff, because the name of the show is Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. It's not movies, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. So let's take a look at some covers, shall we? So we're kind of at the tail end of the 80s and into the 90s now. And so we're starting to get more into modern, or what would be considered more modern artists as we move forward here. I don't know how far I'm going to go, because I have to admit I've sort of tapped out in the last, 15 years. Even though I've only been out of mainstream for 5 years, I really did not pay it. Most of my years at DC, I paid very little attention to what everybody else was doing. I just got my scripts and did my job. And so we'll see how far I take this cover art segment. But anyway, so let's, these are not in any particular order, but these are some of my favorites of Dale's. And Dale is not a guy who's worked on a ton of books. He's most known for Hulk and Pitt. And so the majority of the covers are going to be from those probably, but there's a few other things that he did, and then we'll take a look at maybe some of those as well. Starting off with this, we did actually preview this a little earlier. I might have bias here, but I think this is a pretty good cover. This, of course, is the Dale Keown variant cover to Wraith of God #1. And this is the hardest to get. Along with the Esther cover is pretty hard to find, because they had the fewest numbers, which is weird that the Dale Keown cover would have fewer numbers. But there you have it. In fact, my Bisley cover on Wraith of God 2 sold more copies than the Keown Werewolf cover from #1. And but that just means it's all the more collectible. And I think I do have a couple copies of this left that I have not put up for sale, because I want to keep a couple for myself. In fact, I want to get one CGC graded just so I have it, just for fun. But anyway, this is colored by good old Gabe LT Abe. He did a nice job, though. And I had him he did put blood on his claws and everything, and I did have him take that off because I thought it was a little too bloody for the cover. But whatever. You guys know me. But anyway, it's this is the hardest thing about picking Dale's covers are Dale does a lot of these type of, poses and big character. And so a lot of his covers are similar in layout. And so it's like, do I pick this one or do I pick that one? So I'm looking for little nuanced things that make it stand out from the other. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because he does it brilliantly and I love it. But yeah, I'm going to pick this one because, gosh darn it, it's on my book. Why wouldn't I? I remember everybody being so jealous. How did you get Dale? I'm like, I asked him. But plus I asked him to draw a werewolf, which he really wanted to do, which helped immensely, I'm sure. Stealth for 5. I missed this earlier. Sorry, Stealth. He says, the Wraith of God beanie did keep my head warm while shoveling. There you go. So I'm glad I was able to help. The cold weather. Should get it. Okay, that's his book. Okay. Okay, I'm caught up. I just missed that one Stealth. So I'm sorry about that, Stealth. All right. So I'm telling you, these windows for it's not StreamYard that's doing it, but it's Google, I guess. It's really ticking me off. They just, if you just move them a little bit, they expand and contract. They expand, like it's like a rubber ball. You're like, man, I didn't used to do that. Anyway, okay. Now I recently discovered this one because I was looking for something different, and I thought, no, this is fun. And I think it also speaks to the more modernization of Dale, where he does a lot of pencil work, but doesn't ink it because it's so freaking tight. Look how tight this is. But it's got the thing on it. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but was this published as a variant, or was this a white cover that someone paid Dale to do this drawing on? Because I want to know if he did what he charged for it, because this is freaking awesome. Look how tight that is, that pencil work. So was this a published cover, or was it a blank cover that he did this pencil drawing on? Does anybody know? Yes, Malin got his cover after me, of course. Just putting that out there. Because it very easily could have, I mean, he does pencil stuff like this all the time, so I don't know. Okay. Jerry Roscoe, there you go. I think it was done to auction and raise money for Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, maybe. Can you imagine how much that probably got at auction? Thousands. This is really, really nice. So it may not be a published cover, but I'm still including it because I liked it. A nice framing. Look what he's done with the thing. And as a framing device for the Fantastic Four, although he's got Spider-Man in there instead of the Human Torch. So I don't know what's going on there, but I haven't really kept up with this stuff. So I like it. All right. I've got a few of these, admittedly, but this is where I first discovered Dale, not in this particular comic, but on this series. And of course, it's the Hulk. I love this close-up face of the Abomination and the Hulk, the tiny Hulk, just lecturing him. And that expression on the Abomination's face just cracks me up. And I remember this would have been late 80s, early 90s, right, you guys? No, that had to have been the 90s by then, right? But it was prior to Image, and Image was what, 90? Let me think. Well, Image was 1990, though, wasn't it? So this could have been 89 or 88. Help me out. Sequential Treasure says 91. So this is just before he left to jump on with Image because he was getting near the end of his run. But this is still one of my favorite covers from that run. Great big face, scary, cool, highly detailed face. It draws you in, and to the comedic aspect of the Hulk. And I think this was the Smart Hulk. This was just a great run by was Peter David, right? And Dale. Okay, let's see here. This is the Pitt trade paperback, number 2. Again, a real nice design. I mean, it's not you know, it's not like no one's ever done this type of, you know, use a foreground element to frame the hero in the background, but it's so freakingly well drawn that it's like, I don't care. I love it. And I do. And it's so funny how Dale's artwork, once he jumped over to Image, the detail in it, the drawing has always been there in the Hulk and everything, but the level of detail and line work just went through the roof. And his pencils got way tighter too. Because I guess he probably had more time to work on them. It makes sense, right? Now, I may be cheating on this one because I think this was a poster, wasn't it? But I can't believe it never got used as a cover. You guys are going to have to help me out here. There's Randy Howell says it was 50th anniversary at Marvel, so it must have been 1989. So, yeah, I know the Hulk was pre-Image, but I'm trying to get my dates right. Because we did, well, they were launching. Oh, God, was I married yet? Yeah, okay. So it was 93 is when we did Ultraverse, and they were using the Image money that they got from launching the Image books to launch the Ultraverse. So they had to, Image must have launched in 92, right? That was a long time ago. Anyway, I do think this is Daryl Wayne says, I think there's an internal page from one of the Pit comics and then a poster. I'm treating it like a cover anyway because I love it. I mean, again, it's a very sort of straightforward image and design, but it's so freaking well drawn that it's like, I don't care. I love it. Hulk 384 was 1991, says Sequential Treasures. All right. Okay. I can argue with you. That's why I ask you guys. I ask because I need to know that which I don't know. Now, I really like this cover. It's Pit number 15. So this is after it switched from being an Image comic to Full Bleed Studios, which I still think it was distributed through Image, wasn't it? I may be wrong. I don't know. I don't really, my Image history gets a little shaky. I'm spending most of my time trying to get a job at this point and not worrying about what everybody else was doing. But I love the pose. You've got all this, you know, dead monsters in the foreground and then kind of Pit looming over them in the background, which again is another sort of iconic posing cover, but he turned him sideways and gave him an interesting pose to make the, you know, the graphic design element of it really nice. And the coloring on this is really, I don't know, did Dale color this himself? He really got a lot of depth in his coloring. Tark says that it's a Pit promo poster, not this one, the previous image. I have it signed from the 90s. There you go. Yeah, Farmer worked on Dale on some of the Hulk issues, which I thought were great. But did he come in and do some Pit stuff too? Farmer was so good. Mark Farmer was a heck of an inker. Really, really was. I never got to work with him. Now this is, This might be, I'm not going to say it's my favorite cover. It's probably my favorite Pit cover because it's different than his other ones. It has a really nice design element to it. The Ugly Americans thing. So you got all these dead people here, blood-soaked hands. It's, you know, a little graphic, but I love the design of this cover, all the negative space and everything. I feel bad because if, well, I don't feel bad, but I wonder, I guess I should say, if Dale had consistently put this book out for like a year or two, right when it launched, how much more money he could have made. And although when you're putting this much work into a book, it's probably not reasonable to think that it's going to be done in a month. But all right, this is, dare I say, iconic. But yeah, it's Pit number 1. Remember, we all bought this one, this ripping first issue. And I believe this is the one with the double page spread where he's just trashing the motorcycle gang. And I've told the story on Graybeards where Gary and I were on a tour of Malibu Comics as we're about ready to start working on the Ultraverse stuff. And there was a bunch of us. It just wasn't me and Gary, but they had their art return room, right? And they had Dale's first issue of Pit in there. And so Gary and I went and grabbed the double page spread where he's fighting the motorcycle gang. And we were just like, you know, trying to figure out how we could steal it and get away with it. And that's when we also realized that Dale was using a brush to ink with and not a pen, which then really pissed Gary off because the control is just ridiculous. Now, he might have switched to a pen later. I don't know. Like I said, he does most of it digital now, but like this first issue was done in a brush, and it was just like, what the? But this dual lighting, the coloring and everything really helps this. I mean, it doesn't need help, but okay, let's get into some Hulk. Shall we get into some Hulk? Now you can see the softer, who inked that? McLeod. Bob McLeod inked that. He did a good, nice job on him too. But you can see how much softer. This is clearly brush inking. And I love this sort of neon green back here behind this. It's a very catchy cover, even though there's not, you know, it's mostly silhouette. But look at how different the line work is. This is more John Byrne looking. You know, if you look at the hands and stuff, John Byrne was a big influence on Dale, and you saw it in his early work more than you do now. But I mean, I always liked Byrne, but Dale kind of like took it to the next level, in my opinion. He did do some covers recently, like in the last 5 to 10 years. I know when I was working on Damage, which was kind of DC's Hulk book, he did a cover for one of those. I know he also did a Superman cover too that I've seen. I love this story concept, and I just remember, like, there was a run there for a while. Every Hulk cover was like freaking awesome, and it was like, I got to pick this up because the cover's so cool. But this whole idea that Bruce Banner was the the Hulk was more of a psychological problem. And so he was trying to get like, psychological help to solve his Hulk problem. That was a very interesting concept because there was the gray Hulk, then it was the green Hulk, and then they actually had an issue where the gray and the green Hulk fought for supremacy in Banner's mind. Peter David did some good writing, I have to admit that. But look at the level of detail in this compared to what you're getting in Pitt. And there is some line work and stuff in here, but it's nowhere near as detailed, but it's still, the drawing is so good that it carries it. It doesn't need all the Pitt, refinement and glossiness, if you will, the hard edge that his line quality has. And this, I love this because it's a little looser, a little bumpier, a little more organic looking. Certainly not as detailed, but certainly the drawing is fantastic though. And that's all that matters. But a very iconic cover right there. And my last one we're going to look at, and again, there's tons of great Dale Keown covers, so I'm not suggesting these are like the only ones, but I love this cover. This is one of the early, I want to say his first issue that he drew, Simonson did the cover for. And then the second one was with the Defenders on the cover, right? And I think this was like his third issue, maybe. But I remember seeing this cover going, whoa, I don't know who drew this, but I'm buying it. And again, look at his shading, like, is more similar to what I'm doing these days, is that, you get line work coming out of the shadow areas and stuff, but there's only shadow areas where he needs them. And the rest is just sort of open. And, but again, the drawing is so freaking awesome that I don't need a bunch of line work. I mean, I just love the drawing. No, Simonson did 367 cover, and 368 was Sam Keith fill-in job. Yeah, but 367 wasn't Keown on the inside of that? I know he did the cover to it, but he didn't do the insides. I think Dale did. And then Sam Keith came in for a fill-in, which was inked by Kelly Jones. It was a great issue, by the way. And then Dale came back full-time, right? I'll have to clear that up. No, Marcus is saying this is his first issue here. This is? Okay, well, who drew the Simonson issue? Jeff Purvis? Or who drew the... Yeah, there it is. Dale did the interiors for 367, but Simonson did the cover. And then we had the fill-in with Sam Keith and Kelly Jones. And then we went to this, and then his run started officially, or his consecutive run. And then I think they ended up using Gary Frank as fill-ins during this run. So anyway, there you go. So there's a look at some of Keown's awesome covers that just can't get enough of that good stuff. That's for sure. Yeah, that's Dale's first cover, but it's not his first interior. Right. Okay. Henry Jeremick says, I'm thinking now, 369, that is the second version of the cover. The first version that Dale drew was rejected and unused. I know I've seen it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I always like to see these rejected covers because they're always pretty good, and you kind of think, well, why do they? But then what they ended up using sometimes is better, sometimes is not. Depends on the editor, I guess. Look at that. Maurice Severin inked Dale's first issue. I got to go back and take a look at that. I have it, but I haven't looked at it. I want to see what that looks like. I love Marie, though. She did a lot of great work in the Silver Age of Marvel Comics. All right. Pretty exciting stuff. I just realized that I did not put my Bigfoot videos in order. So I've got to dig them off the, they're in a pile on my desktop. And I do have a few. I hesitate. I always hesitate to say I have a few good videos this week, because are any of them really any good at all? We're about to find out. Here we go. Is that the last one? It is. Okay. We're good to go. It didn't take me that long to get my stuff figured out. Probably take me longer to find the intro. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So this is the segment of the show where we go and make fun of Bigfoot videos and hope to find something that compels us enough to go, wow, could that be real? Well, we'll see. Let's see if I found anything this week. Duck bacon's fake. I haven't even shown anything yet. Okay. I'm trying to think, which one should I start with? Okay, let's go with this. The Deer and Mr. Bigfoot. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so now allegedly this is from a trail cam that a deer walked in front of and triggered, so it turned on. Okay, now I have a question about that, which we will see in a second. So here's your deer. Walking around, doing deer things. This is his neck. This is his ears up here at the top. Oh, wait, what's that behind him? It's a good question. What is that behind him that's not moving at all? I mean, it moves a little bit, but not. It doesn't seem to be moving like the deer is. First of all, would not the deer know that thing is there? This is the back of its ear right here. So it's looking at Bigfoot right now, if this is actually indeed a Bigfoot. And for Bigfoot, in order for Bigfoot to get there, he would have had to walk in front of the camera, which should have triggered it before the deer triggered it, right? What are we looking at? I don't even know what this is. We're zooming. Is there supposed to be a face in here? I mean, I don't even know what we're looking at. Avenger 2 says if it was Bigfoot, the image would be blurry, of course. Is this just a bunch of trees? Is this not even a thing? I love when they show you an AI picture of a Bigfoot. Let's take a look at this. Okay, something is there. The question is, did they put it in after the fact? Because why, if it's actually a creature of some sort, let's just hypothetically say it's Bigfoot, why is it not moving? There's no one there looking at it, so it's not like frozen in fear. Look at the deer is moving, but Bigfoot is not moving. What are we even looking at here? I don't think it's Dale. The Avenger says it's Dale. See, Jerry's got it figured out. This is the thing. That is hilarious. Trail cam footage composited over a still image that is barely animated. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, a bear would eat a deer. Bigfoot is the friend of all deers. So I don't know what the heck is going on there, but I don't know that I can buy into this whole look at that Bigfoot behind that dude. Okay, let's go to the Blue Mountains, wherever they're at. I know there's Blue Mountains in Australia, but I don't think that's where this is. So this is either a Grateful Dead concert or a Bigfoot sighting, or it's completely fake. But here's a photo. So you can definitely see the eyes, nose, and mouth here. And he's got his hair kind of combed back, looking very like the Bee Gees, I think, sort of. Peter Dencat says, we're looking at its back. It's leaning on a tree with its arm in front. Okay. And this is another shot. There's the face, nose, mouth, eyes, apparently of the same Blue Mountain Bigfoot, just a different angle. It's adequately blurry and fuzzy. Coran Kaiser Stone says, hey, Aaron, I'm starting my own drawing stream. See, everybody copies the greatness of Graybeards. You going to be one of my first guests, buddy? Yes, of course I will. Unlike you, who have invited twice now, and you've been like unable. He was on a cruise. Who goes on a cruise? So yes, absolutely, man. Just hit me up. I'll do it. Chaka from Land of the Lost. I love, obviously this is an AI image, but I love how AI, when you say, give me a Bigfoot image, they just basically give you a gorilla. There's no nuance to it at all. I think the reason they showed these guys was because they were talking about how a park ranger took this, and you know, park rangers never lie. Okay, my question is, this is allegedly two different pictures of the same creature. Do they even look the same? Let's see. Let's speed it up. The hair looks different to me. If you look at this dude, he's got the big forehead and the hair is combed back like Bigfoot, you know. This looks like his hair hanging down over his face, and that his forehead is covered. So how, this isn't even, and now granted, that could be a leaf right there and not his head. I don't know. But I'm not even thinking these are the same thing. Yeah, I don't think these are the same thing, even though they're supposed to be, which then would lead me to believe someone's been playing around with AI. Glitch says, Billy shouting out, I'm Billy effing Tucci to the crowd on that cruise he was on was hilarious. I did not see that, but now I must go look it up. Yeah, you know, I say a lot of stuff. All right, now check this out. This is one of the ones I find insulting. Isn't this a guy with a backpack on? Isn't this a guy walking across the ridge with a backpack on? I mean, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm seeing things, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. I mean, Bigfoot, why would Bigfoot bend over and pick up something like that? I mean, maybe would. I've never seen one, but That is a dude with a backpack on, is it not? That a guy with a backpack? Duck Bacon says it looks like a leaf and moves like a leaf. It's probably Sasquatch. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not? I'm sorry. I didn't share it. I got so enraged by the stupidity of this that here we go. Okay. So again, is this not a guy with a backpack? Yeah, okay. Everybody's piling on that I wasn't sharing. I get it. At a moment, but let's get back to business. This is a dude in a backpack, isn't it? Okay. All right. You know, Marcus. Are you serious? Is that a serious question? This is a guy in a backpack. See, here's the problem. You can literally take a video of anything that you can't see 100% clearly and release it as a Bigfoot video. Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. I betrayed no one. I don't know. No, I was not whatever you're referring to. The only thing I betray is it's fake Bigfoot videos. Yes. Yes, I am Comicsgate. My goodness. Okay. I'm even embarrassed to show you this one. All right, here we go. Oh. I don't. Yeah. You know, I've got to show something on here, right? I will say this. This is the fastest walking trio of Bigfoots. I mean, they are going places. They don't really look that big either. I mean, I know the two of them are like allegedly kids. What I think I think with AI running rampant like it is now, we have a right to expect a higher quality of Bigfoot video than we've been getting recently. Am I going to have to switch over to aliens or something? What I need to do is go back and do a little more updated research on the melon heads, because that intrigues me. On their way to Kelsey's Fried Chicken, says Randy Howell. This is like a remake to the intro to the Monkeys. Oh my gosh. Here we come, squatching down the street, scaring all of the lunkheads and everyone we meet. There it is. That's courtesy of Avenger 2. Daryl Wayne suggesting the problem may be that AI doesn't believe in Bigfoot. So therefore, it's not going to represent him correctly. I get it. Matthew Mumma says the Melonheads sound like a rock band. The Melonheads were allegedly in Pennsylvania area, allegedly. They were children that had their brains experimented on by this in this orphanage, and they rebelled against the people that ran the orphanage, the couple that ran the orphanage, and burned their house down and escaped into the woods. And now they're like these cannibalistic, big-headed children that supposedly live in the woods. And so we did a show on the Melonheads. It was a while ago, but I need to see if I can find some updated information on the Melonheads so that we can get more information on that, because I'm just afraid that the quality of Bigfoot videos is dropping so rapidly that we may need other content. So Jerry's got it pretty much figured out. It says AI Bigfoot is so bad because there's nothing but fuzzy, shaking, bad, fake videos to analyze and steal from. So garbage in, garbage out. Now, you know, when they make fake ones of these, right, which you could argue they're all fake, but they shoot them and they're totally in focus and they look terrible. And then they put them in a program and shake the camera, blur it up, and suddenly you've got a viable Bigfoot video. Let's for a moment take a look at the Ray Wallace footage that started it all. This predates the Patterson-Gimlin film. So here you go. Here you have your very first Bigfoot sighting. And later, Ray Wallace's family came out and admitted that he faked this. So this fake film, documented fake film, inspired Patterson and Gimlin to go Bigfoot hunting. And then they came up with their film, which is still under discussion. But if you talk to like special effects guys that have watched this movie, say it's totally fake. So Patterson and Gimlin then make this film in the same area where Ray Wallace shot his, which we know is fake. And so then they shoot this, which I also believe is fake. And then you got a bunch of other people shooting more fake videos, because the guy allegedly that was in this suit came out and admitted that he was the guy in the suit, and got paid $100 or whatever to do this. But boy, when I was a kid, did I want to believe this was real. I don't think it is. So there you go. There's the origins. I love it when a legend is born through fake movies or photographs. And we all know that the originals were fakes, and yet the legend still lives on. So there you go. Paul Taylor's pretty much you. So you believe the guy in the suit, but you don't believe Andy Dufresne when he says he's innocent. Well, he got me there. I don't agree with this at all. There's a lot of people that support it, obviously, but there's a lot of people that don't support it. And it just depends on who you listen to. And when you've got one guy that had some pretty decent evidence that he was the guy in the suit, because I think he actually even had the suit. And of course, there was rumors that the guys that did the stuff for the effects for Planet of the Apes actually created the suit. There's so many stories about it. And of course, the two guys that made the film died without revealing the truth, apparently. So, or saying that it was real. But then there was somebody, I heard somebody say that Gimlin actually didn't know the whole thing was faked, and that Patterson set the whole thing up. Gimlin didn't know it was fake. So he was like an authentic witness going, yeah, we saw it. So I don't know. All I can say is, guys, been a lot of people in the woods for a long time looking for them, and they can't find them anyplace. So unless we subscribe to the theory that Bigfoot operates interdimensionally and phases in and out, which is why he's always blurry and why you can never find him, then now you might be onto something. Anyway, Paul, you're a biologist. I'm disappointed in you. No, I saw a documentary with plaster cast stating that the irregularities in the footprints confirmed it was real. You know, also what some scientists did, they found this pig, they found this tooth in Nebraska, and they built an entire caveman out of it and said it was Nebraska man, and later found out it was the tooth of a pig. So there you go. I don't mean to beseech science. I know you're a man of science, but I'm just saying that science can be as flawed as the next thing. So, okay. I should really spend some time talking about dinosaurs. I would really piss people off about that. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That's all I've got for this week. I appreciate all you guys coming in and joining in the hijinks. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate it very much. And hit that like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Let's get up to, what am I at? 4.39 thousand subscribers. Let's get to 4.4. It's a nice roundish, evenish kind of number. So there you go. Anyway, thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And with any good luck at all, you'll see me tomorrow night on Comicsgate Kings drawing for my supper. So thanks, guys. See ya. Bye.
Mr. Tambourine Man!